Yo, what's up, guys? New video about a BG5 team. BG5 team. This one is crazy fast. It's already been showcased by sho-toku, the Japanese streamer slash YouTuber, Seiishizo, French streamer slash YouTuber. I think this team came from the Japan server. At least, well, they mostly do the theory crafting for like Trikarus, BG5. Like most of those teams come from there, so I don't take any credits for making this team. Also, this team is about 26 to 20 seconds average. It's just that's the average time. But the other team that I showed before, which is the link in the description down below, I do recommend if you want to build a solo or 5 team, build that team. Do not build this team. I repeat, do not build this team. For two reasons. A, rune requirements are very high, way higher than the other team I showed. Number two, it's a very specific how it has to be runed. And it's not that you can just copy someone else's build. No, it's really specific on your build. That's what works or what doesn't work. And there's a lot of tuning. And the most annoying thing about this team is sometimes it just goes wrong and you just didn't see what happened. You go in, it goes right for another 7 runs, and then suddenly something dies again, and you're like, why did something die? Why was something off tune? Why did something not work? It's just a super mess to like play test this team, and it took me about like a whole day. Like I started yesterday around like 10 p.m. to rune this stuff, like 9-10 p.m. Currently it's 10 p.m. I've been running this thing all day, and I actually all the time like switching stuff up, getting some stuff here, crafting will runes of the lowest grade and fight runes of the lowest grade because I didn't have enough fight and will sets. This team is running 31 sets of fight. Yeah, okay, let's instead of ranting, let's look at the team. This is gonna be a pain in the butt to actually show all the units, but yeah, let's try. Let's look at the middle team first. It's a standard BG5 team, except for the point we're using the Ranuki. Ranuki is Rakuni. We call it Ranuki on this channel, in case you're new. Why do we have the Ranuki and not a Jensen? Because normally you have Jensen in BGR5, right? Here we have the Ranuki because we want Ranuki to just boost up Bale. Lauren doesn't need to have another turn. Lauren also in most cases dies, but the big issue with this whole thing is there is a big difference in RNG if the spray lands, because the spray hit, you have the headbutt hit and the spray hit. If the spray hit has a number of crits, which is kind of RNG. This jump is pretty much full critting, and therefore less RNG. Also, okay, wait, it's not always critting. So there's a lot of RNG if stuff crits or not crits. A lot of RNG. Okay. So we don't need Lauren to take a second turn to actually put armor break. I have another team that puts the armor break, so therefore Ranuki saves a few frames of Lauren hitting again because you don't need the Lauren to hit again. Okay, looking at the second team. Second team is I use twins, Fran, another unit that dies, and therefore Fran has the perfect AI of always using her as 3. The twins, of course, armor break and that kind of stuff, and they deal a lot of damage. You could remove the Sabrina for an Odin, and then it also does enough damage. Probably does even more damage. The moment after the jump, Theomars would hit if there was no slow, and then there's a team up. The team up brings in the both twins, and therefore there's more armor breaks, which means that we don't need the armor break from Lauren, because those units are very likely to armor break at least one of the two. Okay, so that's pretty much that team. We just finished a run, 28-second average. I think it's pretty consistent right now as is. Okay, let's continue. Also, I did notice that having the talking about like minor tweaks and tips, which there's gonna be a lot of them in the end. Having the Fire Skogo in the middle team with Bale, and having the Dragoga on the left team with the twins actually did add some safety for whatever reasons. Just animations, they are tuned better for some reason. I don't know. Like I switched it at some point and it works better. Also, Bale having the skin is also better. Let's look at the right team. And now we're starting about, like, the first two teams, you're like, oh, I can run that, sure, fine, whatever, no problem. Now we're talking about the final team. Final team is the pain in the butt, the Katarina team. And let me tell you why. You have this Light Phantom Thief. Light Phantom Thief S3 actually puts 2-turn immunity. That makes a lot of sense, so you give it to Katarina. Katarina gets actually boosted by Konamiya. Jemiah uses his S3. And then Katarina can go again without you getting a second buff, pretty much. Sounds really cool, sounds really cool. But how do you get this stupid ass unit, which is really a stupid ass unit, to get this third skill always on Katarina? Well, first of all, it has to be in the bottom right slot. For some whatever reason, if I put my El Sharian there, it's gonna focus on El Sharian. But if any other unit has a higher effective HP than Katarina, that buff is gonna go to that unit. So then you're like, okay, easy, I just make Katarina most tanky. It's like, yeah, you make Katarina most tanky, but the Jemiah still has to survive the spray and the jump. If Jemiah doesn't survive the spray and the jump, you don't have your second skill. Okay, then we make Jemiah more tanky. Okay, but then the light lure is gonna give the buff to Jemiah. It's like, okay, then we make Katarina more tanky. It's like, yeah, but then Katarina doesn't do enough damage anymore. Fine-tuning that is a real pain in the butt, trust me. That one is really, really annoying. And I kind of did it without an English-spoken guide, so I was kind of like figuring out stuff by myself. And that was, yeah, kind of annoying. So the finesse is there to revive that it actually makes sure that it uses the S3. I also have that the speed tuning of the Katarina moves, one speed after the Konamiya moves, on the same speed the Jemiah moves, and on the same speed the El Sharian moves. Exact tuning, exact tuning. Not one speed more, not one speed less, exact tuning. Reason for that is that if you have the other units slower, Konamiya is gonna use S2. Konamiya cannot be awakened, by the way, because then she will use S3. So Konamiya S2 is going on the last unit that moved. But if you have more speed in between than 1 or 2, your Katarina is gonna move right away before the Jemiah. The reason that El Sharian is also, or whatever lead you're gonna put there, is also in between, is that sometimes if your team on the left, the double twins, are both using S2, animations are longer, and therefore Katarina could move. So therefore you have the El Sharian as just safety, can move. Now he moves in between. It doesn't really matter because we're waiting for the last damage from the Bale mostly anyways. So that's just like half a second slower. And I got something in my eye. And that's super annoying. Ah. Okay, so that's pretty much the team. That's how it works. That's how you should do it. But trust me, it sounds pretty simple right now. I don't think so. It sounds pretty simple. But getting the Jemiah on the point, because this is the Jemiah. It's weak as fuck. If I make it like, if I literally upgrade this rune, probably the buff is gonna go to the Jemiah, while the Kada is actually on paper not being any more tanky. So I'm not exactly sure what's the margin in that, but it's a pain in the butt to find out. So yeah, you have that kind of team. So what do we have? Fight runes, will runes, fight runes, fight runes, fight runes with will. And okay, we gotta go really quick, and you can probably pause the video when you want to see specific runes. So let's go over that again, if we can, if we may. Okay, this team. So we have fight will, and then a lot of damage, 77 crit rate. I need 76. A lot of damage, also more crit damage as 3. Crit damage on good is more important than crit damage on bad, so go for crit damage on good, because you have an attack buff in the second rotation, and my Jemiah nearly freaking died again for no reason. Super annoying. A way to get your Jemiah not from dying, but not being as tanky, could be adding additional defense from lost HP. But the issue is, if that defense from lost HP is stacking up too much after the spray, the buff is gonna go to the Jemiah again. So actually, getting reduced crit damage is actually the best thing you can give, because that's giving more tankiness without giving him more effective HP. But if I add too much of the defense percentage to, or defense potential proportional to lost HP, that one, he's gonna get the buff. You don't want him to get the buff. So yeah, those are all things to keep in mind. Then for the Bale team, let's look at the Bale team of the runes. the runes of the Bell team, the Bell team of the runes, whatever. In the next run, the runs are crazy fast, so it's actually difficult to look at all of those runes. Okay, this team. So we have triple fight, double fight will. It has to die, doesn't it? And this one, double fight will, damage, double fight will, but actually on a decent set to add some extra damage. So also additional damage from attack, attack increasing effect, that kind of jazz. And a triple fight, close in tune with the bell, very important. And then the bell is just a typical bell, doing as much damage as possible. Attack increasing effects, crit damage is 3, additional damage from attack. Attack by low HP is also a really good one. So a combination of all of those to add more damage. Looking at the left team. Left team, here we go. Left team is, we have Theomar's triple fight damage set. Doesn't really need to do that much damage, but I just had the set, so why not? We have the friend. The friend is on the lowest HP possible. Another RNG factor. If you land the attack debuff from Sabrina, the spray and the jump are gonna do less damage. Mainly the jump is gonna do less damage. Therefore, the friend might survive. If the friend is a little bit more tanky than this, I should use a friend that's not max leveled. That would be a lot easier. Then she's gonna survive the jump, which means the team up can be with the friend rather than having the team up with the twins, so less likelihood of armor breaks. Therefore, you need this little friend to die. You can be like, oh, you put it on frontline so it takes more damage. Yeah, then it might die to the no. So you don't want it to die to the no. And it heals itself to max after the spray anyways. So therefore, I literally crafted 100 and a 7 and I got 0 defensive stats from that whatsoever next to it. Okay, this one, double fight will. Actually a decent Trikaru. Then we have will plus fight, typical one. This one being tanky enough, doing as much damage as possible for a Sabrina. Additional damage dealt together, that kind of stuff, both sides. And then that also for the Shaina. Same thing, enough damage. You don't need Eki because Shaina actually gives enough Eki. You only need 15 Eki for the whole BJ5 because the boss has 30 resistance. And Shaina actually passive gives 25 Eki to the whole team. Should be only to the other twin, but it's to the whole team. Whatever. Yeah, so we have that much damage from there, and then that much damage from there, and then that does enough damage. Again, you could do exactly the same team, but remove the Sabrina for an Odin. I think that team is actually better. It still works the same way. You team up, and the armor breaks comes from from Sabrina itself. No, wait, from Shaina. Just from Shaina instead of Shaina and Sabrina. I'm not sure if I have a higher uptime of armor break because I have both twins here, but yeah. Things to look out for. The amount of times you get crit is RNG. Therefore, the amount of damage of the jump and the spray are RNG. If the boss does the spray or the jump is RNG. So sometimes it doesn't die and then suddenly it died. How did it die? You just got critted more, probably. Then you have to up the tankiness. And so sometimes you think like it can go for like 2 whole runs of 10, nothing dying, and then suddenly it dies 3 times. Probably one of those units is just on the edge that if it crits too much, you die. So those are the kind of tips that if you really want to run this team, those are the things you have to watch out for. Main thing is, does this thing actually do his S3 on the correct unit? No. This run I have been talking the whole time, but suddenly Jemire has the debuff and the team fails. Exactly what I was talking about. Why? I don't fucking know. So this team has been running correctly for I don't know how many times when I was talking, and suddenly the Jemire ends up with the buff, and I just saw that right now. Otherwise, I would have had no clue why this team died. So my Jemire is a little bit too tanky. I even already put like Katarina on a slot 2, or no wait, on a defense artifact to just have more defense for that. But that's just this team. This team is super annoying to run now. Perfectly fine. Putting the buff on the correct unit. What happened last time? I don't know. Maybe Jemire got crit too much and therefore his effective HP got up because of the defense proportional to blah blah blah, whatever, yada yada, the whole shebang. But yeah, that's pretty much this team. Very simple, right? You still want to run it? Smash like. So yeah, if anyone is showing you this team, it's like, yeah, you should run it, it's so cool, 26-7, blah blah blah, yada yada, whole shebang. Yeah, I don't recommend you to use Katarina. If you solo R5, I do not recommend you to use Katarina. Katarina is very likely to derp. There's a lot of setup needed. This is very much the most minimum is that a thing? Yeah, most minimum. I don't know. Sounds like a super whatever. Okay, so this is the minimum setup to have for Katarina to actually still do her skills and do enough damage. If you start adding Chloe, Kubesinov, blah blah blah, whole shebang, you're gonna get too many animations, your team is gonna desync, it's gonna be even more messy. So I do not recommend to use Katarina. I would really recommend on one team, you go for an Odin. Odins are very solid. You go for an Inugami team. That one is very solid. You go for a Twins team. Those teams are very solid. Those 3 teams plus a Bale. And you can even choose. You don't have to do all 3, of course, because you just need 2 more teams. I really recommend you to do those more teams. Or those teams. 2 of them in the video, which again is linked down below. I have the Inugami team. I have a Bale team. And I have a Twins team. And I really recommend you to use those. Could this work with a Ganymede instead of a Jemire? It's the same issue. You don't change anything. Like, Jemire always uses its skill, but the issue is he has to survive, but not be too tanky. And the issue is, if he's too tanky, you don't get the buff. If he's not tanky enough, he dies. But you also have to keep in mind, if you make him too tanky, your Katarina has to be more tanky. That's the kind of the issue. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, well, smash like. What are the requirements for Jemire to use S3? Jemire always uses his S3. Jemire, that's actually not the issue. Jemire always uses his S3. So yeah. Anyhow, guys, that's it for this video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. And thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Okay, next day, the day after, the night before. That's just the next day, whatever. I've been running this team for a lot more time, and I made a few changes. It's running better now. It's actually a lot smoother right now. It's close to like 99 to 98% win rate. Main thing what I did is, it's also a little bit slower right now, because I upped the HP and defense of the Bale, and I upped the HP and defense of the Katarina, which could potentially have some messy things if they were crit too much or too little or anything like that. So how these units look right now is, we have the Bale, which this is still pretty much the same stats as I had before. Only big difference is that I added a lot of defense from lost HP. And more defense from lost HP and artifacts. So it does less damage. It does about like 44k damage on the last hit. And I did a similar thing for the Katarina. Does this still do enough damage? Yes, it actually still does enough damage. But if I would have slightly better runes, it would be better, of course. So for the Katarina, I actually made it quite a bit more tanky, mainly in the defense, which is a defense artifact on both sides. So actually, this team can run with both attack artifacts on both sides, but then it's like, it sometimes does work, sometimes doesn't work. This way it's a lot more effective, a lot more consistent, so that's why I changed it like that. So team is not that bad right now. It's actually running pretty smooth. It's a little bit slower right now, I have noticed, but it's still getting like, what's 27.5 to 28 second average, so it is slightly bit faster than the other team. But again, it's a lot more difficult to rune because there's so much tuning. There's so many more specific things you have to take in care. And if things just go wrong, it just goes really wrong and you instantly fail. With the other team, if it goes wrong, you still have like some teams that can kind of carry. Like a good BJ5 team can still do like 2 or 3 as once on Bale if the team just doesn't die. So with that said, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.